So the ideal situation for making fried rice is to cook the rice the night before and then leave it to cool in the fridge. And that's exactly what I'm going to do now. 1 cup of jasmine rice. And this is when I'm going to use the colander to rinse the rice before cooking, not after. So I'm going to add some liquid. I don't use my finger to measure because I don't think it's accurate. Just use the measurements. It's right here. Going in with coconut milk. It's about enough. I use coconut milk because it's fatty. Alternatively, you could just use water and then add a splash of whatever oil you have. Olive oil, vegetable oil, even sesame oil or butter would do the trick. Now, arguably the most important step to making good fried rice, in my opinion, is to season the rice when you cook it. Going in with 3 pinches of salt. But here we go, lid goes on. Let it go.
20 minutes later.
So this is cooked. The lid off. And that looks good. Smells very, very fragrant. And I'm gonna try to fluff it up a little bit. Let the steam escape. Now the bottom took on some color, which is pretty nice. It's not too sticky, but it's still reasonably soft. Now I'm gonna scoop it out and lay it flat on the plate so that more steam can escape. So I have this even layer of rice sitting here, and I'm gonna let this cool to room temperature and then chuck it in the fridge overnight.
The next day.
Okay, so fried rice. This overnight cooked rice that's been fridged, and then garlic, shallot, parsley, cumin, 2 eggs, dark soy, fish sauce, sesame oil, and vegetable oil. That's it. First of all, I'm gonna cut up some garlic and shallot. Cut this in half. Now this doesn't have to be too fine for 2 reasons. Number 1, it would have taken me way longer to get it to a fine dice. Number 2, if I cut it too fine, it would actually burn in the pan pretty easily. Again, very rough chop. And now parsley. Now for me, parsley is mostly decorative. So, you know, it depends on what I have. As long as it's something green. So it's either parsley, green onion, frozen peas, you know, or cilantro, anything would do. And I'm just gonna, again, very roughly chop. gonna go in at the very end to add some color. And this is pretty much it. All the chopping done. Okay, so let's do this. I'm turning the heat all the way up to the highest setting possible because it's an electric cooktop. It takes forever for it to heat up, and this is gonna stay on the highest throughout this cooking process. And by the way, this is a non-stick wok on an electric stove. And I'm not tripping. This is how I cook my fried rice. This is what I have. And hopefully this kind of inspires people in a way. You know, if I can make fried rice with this setup, you can make your fried rice with a better setup. Or maybe I'm gonna fail miserably and things aren't gonna look that pretty. We'll see. Now, I don't know if you can see, but the wok is smoking now. And that's a good time to go in with about a tablespoon of vegetable oil, I'd say. And then eggs going straight in. Now I'm just gonna take the wooden spoon and just cook it real quick. Mix it up. This is also a test on whether or not the wok is hot enough. Break it apart, and this goes out. Now, wok goes back on. It's okay if there's some bits in here, I don't mind. Fresh oil in there, couple tablespoons. Wait for it to heat back up. In with the chopped shallot and garlic. You want to move this around frequently because it burns pretty easily. Still high heat. Go in with a touch of salt. Now the color of this stuff is changing. So now, just drop the rice in. Uh-oh. Rice going in. Take it off the heat for a bit. More oil. About a tablespoon of soy sauce. Maybe a couple tablespoons, who knows? Eggs back in. break it apart a little bit. A little bit of cumin, a little bit of fish sauce, have a little taste. Touch of sugar. Well, actually, going in with a little bit of balsamic vinegar. Parsley. Heat off some sesame oil. Done. This is the stuff. Black soy milk. It's way better than the soy milk you get at, normal supermarkets. Got this from Chinatown. Amazing. Now, fried rice. I don't know if you can see, but this is the grains are very separate. I mean, the dish is dry. There's no water, there's no oil on the bottom. That's what you're looking for in a good fried rice dish. Now, taste test. I mean, you can't beat that. You just cannot beat a good fried rice. Should have added a little bit less soy sauce, but that's okay. Now, obviously, one of the reasons that I decided to make this video is the whole BBC fried rice debacle. But also, I before making this video, I didn't think that I had looked into ways to make fried rice with this setup, because why would you? You have a non-stick wok, you have an electric stovetop that takes forever to heat up. How are you supposed to make good fried rice with that, Because you need high heat. Obviously, it's lacking the wok flavor. But everything else is pretty spot on. I decided to cook the eggs separately because, again, I don't have enough power here. So it would be a good idea to cook the eggs and get the caramelization going. I like my eggs browned, as you can probably see from the footage. I like some color. And then you take it out, and by the time you finish cooking the eggs, the wok is properly heated up, and you go in with more oil, because fried rice. How can you make fried rice without a gallon of oil? You go in with the oil and then the aromatics. I might have overcooked the aromatics a little bit, but I can't taste anything bitter here, so I think I'm good. And then it's just a matter of tossing and working quickly, because
I kept the heat on the highest all the way through, there's a risk of burning things. But the benefit of cooking with overnight rice is that the grains just separate easily. I tried making fried rice before here with like rice that's just cooked. It just doesn't work. It's way too wet. If you don't have a lot of time, I would suggest at least making the rice in advance, maybe a couple of hours, and then spreading it nice and evenly on a sheet pan or a plate, and then let it cool to room temperature and let some of the steam escape. It's not going to be as good as the overnight method, but it's going to be okay. Now, another common thing about fried rice is MSG versus no MSG. I'm actually team MSG, but I didn't put any in this one because I had soy sauce and fish sauce. So in the case of MSG, I wouldn't put any in if I already had put fish sauce or soy sauce or oyster sauce in a dish. Because, you know, if you, well actually, so this is the Lee Kum Kee oyster sauce that I use. And if you read the ingredient list, it actually has MSG in it. I'll post a picture on it. But you know, if you're using oyster sauce, you're using MSG by default. And soy sauce and fish sauce naturally don't have MSG. I mean, don't have additional MSG, but MSG is a naturally occurring, what do you call it, a compound? I think it's a compound. So, you know, when you're eating Parmesan cheese, when you're eating mushrooms, you're eating MSG. But if I were to use MSG in this dish, I would have dialed back the seasoning by like 25% and then use, you know, that amount of MSG to round up the dish. And as I said, this is kind of a base for fried rice. You know, sometimes I put chicken, shrimp. It also depends on what I have in the fridge, you know? Like I have parsley. I have a lot of parsley in the fridge, so I use parsley. If I have cilantro, I use cilantro. If I have green onion, I use green onion. I just want something green again to make it look a little bit better. That's like part of, that's like 95% of plating for Chinese food. You have something green on the top of the dish and you're all set, you know? See how the individual grains just kind of fall off separately? That's what happens when you go in with dry rice and you toss. You toss vigorously. I decided to go rogue and put in balsamic vinegar. Partially because I tasted it and I realized I put in too much, you know, salt in the form of soy sauce. So I decided to balance it off with a little bit of acidity. And obviously balsamic vinegar is not the traditional thing to use in fried rice, but it's pretty similar to like the Chinese Qingqiang black vinegar. The color is similar, the taste is similar. It's this very full body, almost wine tasting vinegar. And it also adds the color, you know? Look at this. No excess pool of fat, no liquid, nothing. Hope y'all liked this video. And let this be proof that you can make fried rice with a pretty mediocre setup. Hope you liked the video. I already said that. What am I doing? Like, subscribe, comment, share, whatever. Fried rice. I'm out.